Hello. Well, I'm sure if you've watched a lot of videos about transgender people and you're a free thinker and you've seen, you dare to listen to all the different sides of the subject, you must have noticed that one of the common problems is the the side of that's pro transgender people is saying gender is a spectrum, and then the other side's they're saying a trans woman is not biologically the same thing as a real woman. So what is that all about? Well, if you go back in time, like the 80s and 70s and 60s, we did think that it was like as simple as the X chromosome and a Y chromosome. But now we know with modern science that gender is a spectrum. But what does that really mean? So you'll hear transgender people saying, that the people that that our adversary is they're stuck in this binary, that there's only two genders. You can either be a man or a woman, and you can't choose anything beyond that. Of course, trans woman is short for transition to woman. So you start out a man and you transition to woman. So that means, you had to do stuff to do that. So they're saying there's nothing you can do about it. And of course, a trans woman does much things, including with the hormones. You have female skin, female hair, female sex drive, pheromones. You grow boobs. It doesn't change your voice, but it does. It gives you a bunch of legitimately biological female things. So there are legitimately biological female things about you. So that is kind of confusing. But what it's all about, it's about being progressive or not being progressive. It's not really like, because it's not about, like, if you're interested in facts, gender is a spectrum, and they are out of date, and that's what the fact is. But they appeal to people because they say you're not a real woman. And anybody that looks at a trans woman, like if you look at me, you can tell it doesn't take a genius to figure out I wasn't born a female. You can tell I'm a trans woman, obviously, So because that's obvious, you feel like people assume they're stating the obvious and saying, well, yeah, but yeah, trans women, we've never said we're the exact same thing. That's why there's two words, cis woman and trans woman. That's why there's two different words. Like if you're going to talk about someone, you call them a woman, whether they're a trans woman or a cis woman, you say because woman is an umbrella word, which can mean either one. But if you're talking about the subject of the differences between the two, then you would have to use the English words cis woman and trans woman, so you know which one you're talking about. And that's why those two words exist, because, oh yeah, biologically, if they're right when they say biologically the chromosome, all the things they say, the reason why they're saying that is, and they're like, oh no, it's a scientific fact, is because they're right. It is a scientific fact. If gender really was a binary, then they would be right. But the problem is gender is an expression. And we see that in the animal kingdom. There's transgender animals. There's gender expressions that pull animals and humans into different areas. And so that's why there's a need for the different words. So I've heard it said before, sometimes when it comes to analyzing problems, it's not about what are the answers sometimes. Sometimes it's about asking the right questions. So the right question is, if with archaeology and history, if we know, and it's a fact, that there's always been transgender people, and we know there's transgender animals, and we know that gender is a spectrum, if you put it all together, the question becomes, how can in an inclusive, progressive way, how can we make it so everybody gets along and everybody's happy and everybody, this is America, Why would you want to stop someone from having a belief or an opinion or being able to pursue their own happiness? That's the real question. How do we let people pursue their own happiness, So like if someone's a trans woman, that's a gender expression, but it's not. But it can be explained biologically too, because gender is a spectrum. But you don't have microscope eyeballs. We don't. What difference does any of that make? What we're trying to do is have a functional society where everybody can pursue their happiness and be healthy and happy and live good lives. So there is two kinds of people that unify and people that separate. Of course, separation is just another word for ego. So if the people that are trying to separate and they think that every solution is about labeling and separating, that's ego. So they're like, and they have this narcissistic sense of grandiose, that a real woman, a real woman. Well, yeah, a trans woman is a real woman, just like a cis woman. They're both real women because woman's an umbrella word. We need to know what you're talking about. Are you talking about a trans woman or a cis woman? You need to be more specific. If we're going to talk about gender, learn how to speak English. Those are English words. So then the question becomes, what is gender dysphoria? Because why? So you could say, well, if gender is a spectrum, then why should people of the third and fourth gender? Why should they? Why do they use hormones and alter their brain and their body and everything? And why the surgeries and everything like that? And it's because that helps with gender dysphoria. Gender dysphoria means that you don't like that you're transgender. It properly means you're not happy about the gender you were assigned at birth, but you might look at it so that it's easier to understand that it means you're not happy about being transgender. There's nothing fun about being transgender. It's a bunch of pain and humiliation and disrespect and threats and violence and isolation and depression. It's not an easy life. It's a very hard life. And what you experience is gender dysphoria. And how can you help people? Because that's what we're trying to do as a society. We want everybody to be happy and healthy. How do you help transgender people be happy and healthy? These third and fourth genders. Because that part's a fact. We already know there's third and fourth genders. When those people say, no, that's not a fact, chromosomes X and Y, man and a woman, again, they're appealing to the idea that it's obvious that me, for example, is not the same thing as a cis woman. You can tell. You can hear it in my voice. Obviously I'm not the same thing biologically. But that's the problem with narcissists. Everything's a competition. They know more, they've suffered more, they've endured more. They've just blah 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 blah. If you let narcissists rule the world, it's not going to be a good place. What we want is kind, compassionate, temperate, intelligent thinkers that use facts and science constructively toward progress and toward unity and diversity, toward inclusion and progress, and oh my gosh, as hard of a life as being the third and fourth gender, if you take away the surgeries and hormones, what little we have, you want to take away what little we have, of course. That's what narcissists do. That's what they do. They're just, if you go talk to those people, they probably believe there's only one true religion, one true God. And, they have that murder, rape, and pillage everyone that thinks different than you attitude. How is that going to be the future, a healthy future? So you just have to listen. They're being manipulative, A real woman, be more specific. Aren't you trying to, don't you care about everybody?